Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Behind the Reel podcast. We've got another guest coming up today from the All American Kayak Series. All of you Iowa guys might know him. All of you Midwest guys have definitely went up against him in some pretty competitive regional events with the All American Series and other kayak fishing series that have come through the area. Mr. Tyler Cole. We're going to have him on. We're going to talk about an event that he won here not too long ago, just a couple weeks, I believe, down in Texas on Lake of the Pines. Had a very impressive kind of I guess you could call it a comeback. We were just talking a little bit before the show. He submitted somewhere around 80 inches the first day, won it with 184, almost 185 inches. So definitely a bit of a comeback story there. So definitely looking into hearing about that day, but not only that, but all of what the All American Kayak Series has to offer. They've got some events coming up as well. So if you guys are in the Midwest, this is kind of tailored to you guys. This is going to offer you a chance to compete at a higher level. This is definitely a step above your club events. These are 2-day tournaments. So if you really want to test your skills, this is an awesome way to do it. A lot of hammers fishing this series, so you know those trophies are not going to come easily, but you do have some potential to win some pretty good money there. So going to talk about a little bit about that, and we're going to kind of just dive right into it tonight. If you guys have any questions, we're going to try to keep this. We're going to try to keep those questions rolling in, and we'll try to work those into our conversation here tonight. We got Fat Basses TV already in the comment section. That guy used to fish. I don't know. He might not even remember what setting the hook feels like. So maybe one of these days we'll have him on the podcast to talk about doing dad things. I don't know if he can really speak on the whole fishing thing, but anyways, just gonna rub it in a little bit there. But shout out to my buddy Fat Basses TV. And guys, as you see these comments kind of popping up on the screen, certainly appreciate the engagement, and we will get to those questions just as quickly as we can. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and ask you guys a favor for me. Share this live video, copy that link, share it in a Facebook group. If you're a part of a local fishing group or something like that on Facebook, or you have some buddies that maybe fish this event or might be interested in fishing kayak tournaments, this is a great way to introduce new people to the sport. So do me a favor, share this video around, and we will more than likely over the course of a few episodes or two see some new people joining your local tournaments, and that's what this is all about. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring Tyler on, and we're going to just get right to it. Hey, what's up, man?
How we doing?
Good. How are you doing tonight?
Not too awful bad.
Heck yeah.
So, finally,
So
finally home from work.
yeah. Was it a long day of work?
Yeah, it's always a long day.
Now,
Always.
that is something that we've kind of got away from talking about. That was one question we had kind of asked some of the viewers, some of the information that they're looking to get from the guests that we have on the show. So we could just knock that one out while we're here. What do you do for a living? I'm assuming that you're not a full-time angler.
No, nope. I have actually worked for A1 Storage.
Okay.
We deliver storage containers, and they we buy we buy the storage containers from the terminals, and then we bring them back to the shop, turn them into offices,
Okay.
um, garages, stuff like that, and then I'm the guy that just goes out and delivers them.
So you drive like a big,
Big semi every
yeah,
day.
that's cool. Heck yeah.
Yeah,
That one of those would make a heck of a little tackle shack, wouldn't it?
yeah. I mean, they are. We do anything from fireworks stands to
Sure.
did a ton of COVID offices, stuff like that, COVID check-in points,
Stuff on like
and
construction sites probably. And
yeah, tons of construction sites, and I mean, you name it, we got them there. We got containers in 29 states.
okay. So
And
you don't mind driving. You don't mind hitting the road and going down to Texas.
Nope, don't bother me a bit. I've actually taken containers down to Texas. So
Heck yeah. Me,
yeah,
I spend about 2.5, 3 hours behind the wheel, and I'm like ready to doze off. It just does not keep my attention. And ever since I was a little kid, my parents used to always tease me because I'd fall asleep every time we got in the car. Still hasn't changed. So yeah, I'm like
yeah,
driving to go visit family in Springfield. That's barely 4.5 hours away, and I'm just like holding my eyelids open, like hanging out the
right.
window, AC full blast, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah. It takes a little getting used to, but it's not too awful bad.
So maybe, so you have some involvement in kind of the like what is your, I guess, role with the All American? I know you helped Josh out quite a bit, and
Yeah.
maybe just let folks know. We might have some people on here tonight that aren't familiar with it. Maybe just tell them what you got going on with that, and then we can talk about how you cleaned house and took everybody's money.
Yeah, so the All American came up a few years back. We were sitting at a campfire, and there used to be a tournament down in Texas every November called the Tournament of Champions, which is now has now went to the Hobie organization, which they're doing a bang up job with it over there.
Mm-hmm.
And what it was is basically you qualified through your club, and then everybody kind of met in Texas, and it was kind of a big money end of the year party. And once Hobie got that, and trying to change the format of it, we really didn't have anything for the clubs. So me and Josh kind of sat down at a fire, actually up in lacrosse,
Mm.
and we're like, why don't we do this? Why don't we bring it back? Well, then Everhard Outdoors, they gave us, pretty much the free will to run with it. And we put on our first event, it would have been 3 years ago, and had 172 anglers show up, and was an awesome tournament. Paid 10,000 for first, and so we decided from that point that we were going to try to put the series together. Something Midwest, and kind of a regional series rather than having to travel 14, 16 hours. We were going to try to keep it kind of 6, 7, 8 hours, in a circle.
Yeah.
And it's more, we're more of it's got a club feel to it. It's not everybody's super on edge, or it's a real fun series, and it's been going really good. So, and
Yeah,
the
I know.
payouts
Sorry.
the
Go ahead.
payouts are really good for the $175 entry fee, and so it puts a little money in the pocket, it makes you able to travel.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know, I think the first year or two they were like single day events, and then
Yep.
last year is when you guys went to the 2 day.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so that's something that you're not seeing at the club level. So not only is it a chance for you to win some more money, definitely got some bragging rights there, but
Yeah.
also it's kind of that next step. So maybe if you don't,
Yep.
you can't travel, or you're trying to prepare yourself for like the Hobies, or the
Yep.
Bassmasters and stuff like that. Going into a 2 day event, like, you tell me, because I really don't know, but like, how does that change your mindset? How does that change your game plan? Um, was that a big like hurdle that you had to overcome when you went to the 2 day events, or?
Yeah, I mean it's a total different style of fishing than single day. Single day you can go out, find fish, and just burn them to the ground.
Yeah,
Where a 2 day event, you either have to have multiple spots, or you really have to manage your fish. And sometimes it's hard to do that, especially when you're limited on pre-fishing. And you get out there and you only find fish in one spot. Well,
yeah.
then you have to manage them so then you don't burn them down.
Do you see a lot of guys struggling with that, or like early on as they're maybe making that transition?
Not terribly. I mean, the biggest struggle I see is guys, we're all excited to get on the water. Everybody is. We're off work. We want to go catch fish. So what happens is they go and they just beat the fish up all week long,
Yeah.
and then come tournament day, they're like, "Well, I caught 95 inches here. Why can't I catch 50?" You know, and that's the tough part about it.
I seen somebody, they were, I mean, I would be ecstatic, to catch this kind of a limit. But somebody was on Facebook. I don't remember who it was. So if it was you, I'm sorry. I know it wasn't you personally, but if you're watching this video later and you're like, he's talking about me, like, I'm sorry, it's not directed at anybody. But somebody was bragging about catching like 100 and over 100 inches, and this is my best practice day ever. I'm like, oh my gosh, like
Right.
dude, if you don't catch them tomorrow, you're going to be kicking yourself in the butt.
Right. And I learned that really early. I went to, back when it was the Midwest Kayak Fishing Series, I went to Wanahoo and I sat on a hump all week long. And I mean, I wrecked every fish out there. And
It's a
come
small
tournament day,
lake.
I couldn't catch anything on tournament day.
Yeah. My only experience at Wanahoo, I did the same thing, actually.
Yeah.
It was the day before. It was just the spooky bass
Yep.
Halloween deal. And so I went there. We were only able to pre-fish for a few hours and clobbered them pretty good, and
Yeah.
caught one fish the next day. But
Yeah.
there was definitely some other conditions. There was a storm and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
hey, at least I caught some fish while we made
Yeah.
the trip and made it worth it, I guess.
Yep. Definitely. Definitely.
But yeah, definitely gonna be something that you have to change your approach. Almost, yeah, almost like I don't know. Have you done any of the MLF stuff, like the every
Uh,
fish counts?
no, I don't get into that too
You're
much.
not much of a Marty Hughes.
No, no, Marty puts up some ridiculous amounts of fish every year.
All you got to do is fish the Nico rig. I mean, that's what I heard anyway.
Right. I was trying to talk to him. We actually ran into him down in Texas. I was trying to talk him into giving me a quick clinic.
Yeah, he was probably pretty tight-lipped.
Yeah, he always is.
um, okay, no fat basses. We know that wasn't you catching fish. If the story starts out like that, we're not talking about you. Okay, so let me see. I wanted to show this. So this is the schedule that you guys have put together, and
Yep.
something else too that's cool is you are running some of these events kind of in conjunction with club events,
Yep.
um, and so that's going to help draw some anglers from the club side, but also going to give the club anglers a chance to compete for a much bigger payday right there on their home lake,
Yeah.
or on their own
Yep.
turf. So I know
Yeah.
we're going to be fishing an event with you guys in September down on the Mineland Wildlife area, the strip pits. Um,
Yep.
Really unique fishery down there. Next one you've got coming up in Arkansas here, this weekend?
This weekend. Yep. It's
Are
the
you fishing
Conway
that?
event. No, I'm not going to make it down for that one. I wish I could because there's some bigs in that lake, and I mean Cypress Swamp. How can you go wrong?
Okay, that's the one where they have all the gators.
There are gators in Conway,
Yeah. I don't know why, but when I think of Arkansas, I don't think of gators. So I'm assuming that one's
right?
pretty far south.
Yeah, yeah, it's down there.
And
But I
then,
mean, a really awesome lake.
yeah, I've never been to that one. Truman Lake, which is no stranger to the All American Series or
Yep.
its Missouri roots.
Yeah.
Okoboji, I have a feeling that you might have had some influence on that one.
Yeah, that it wasn't so much me. I was willing to keep it off for a year, but the feedback we got from the guys when we were talking about it, everybody just loves that place.
Now, is
Yeah.
that a lake where everybody does well, or is that a lake where the top of the field does really well, and then you have a bunch of people struggling?
I think last year 80 inches was 34th place.
Oh, wow.
I mean, and everybody I think there was only two people, and I think they had issues that didn't catch fish.
Yeah,
And
and for people that don't know much about Iowa, bass fishing in Iowa, those things are not necessarily synonymous. Almost as bad as Kansas in bass fishing. So, like, is that your typical fishery in Iowa, or is it kind of an outlier?
no, it is. So it's one of the southernmost glacial lakes that there is. And I mean, you can find water there that's crystal clear, and you can find water there that has some color.
Yeah,
But I mean, that time of year is the time when all the bass head towards the bank, and
yeah,
it is the most killer pre-spawn spawn bite you'll ever get on.
yeah. Well, I guess you're still getting on some pre-spawn fish that late in the year, huh?
Yeah, yeah, and you can run out and catch smallmouth up there. I mean, if a guy could come up and get on the smallies, he could definitely compete with the largemouth up there.
Heck yeah. And then you've got one that's a little bit of a haul, but I would imagine that's one that's on a lot of people's bucket list in St. Clair there.
Yeah, I went out last year for my first time, and like it to look at it, it's overwhelming. It's like, where do you even start?
Hmm.
But
Yeah,
you literally pick a ramp and there's fish everywhere. I mean, it is incredible. You're sight fishing in 9 feet of water, and you can, if you find weeds, you can play with the largemouth all day long. I mean, it's so diverse out there.
yeah, yeah. I never been, but that's definitely one on the bucket list. And I imagine guys that are fishing the All American, that's one that they're probably pretty high on the list of ones they want to make.
Yeah.
Do you see, like, you've been there once or twice with the series, haven't you?
Last year was our first year. This will
Okay.
be our second time out there.
What kind of turnout do you recall? How many guys made that trek, or how many
We
guys
only had
have? Sorry,
we only had 24 last year,
sure. Do you
but
have
it was
from that area making some of these other ones, or is that kind of just because it's
yeah,
so?
we had a few guys that once we came out there, they traveled the rest of the year and fished with us, and
Hell yeah.
I mean, it was a lot of fun out there.
Well, and I guess you have Wisconsin. Is that the so this isn't that's not the river, is it, this year?
No, no,
Okay.
that's Lake Minocqua, which is clear up in northern Wisconsin,
Oh, and then you do have the river right after it. Okay.
but we switched pools for the river this year.
Nice.
So but that Minocqua event's actually going to be a roadrunner event. We're
Okay.
going to draw a circle 50 miles around, and it should include right about 2,500 lakes
Wow.
of trophy smallmouth fishing.
Wow.
So
Okay. So that's kind of similar to the Mineland deal where you'll have a bunch of people on completely different bodies of water.
yeah, yep,
That's cool. Um, and then you're going back to Arkansas for the championship,
yep,
Falsenthal Refuge.
yep. There's never been a kayak event there before,
That's cool.
and we've been chatting with them down there, and they're really excited about it, and there's some awesome bass in there, and so it's kind of a new water kind of deal, just show up and we all figure it out.
Yeah. So this Lake of the Pines, what was your experience with this body of water before pre-fishing, I guess?
We got a call that said it was an awesome lake, had giant fish in it, and we decided to put it on the schedule. And that's about all I knew about it. It's
Heck yeah.
smack dab in between Lake Fork,
Okay.
Caddo, Sam Rayburn. So it's a really underutilized lake. I mean,
Hmm.
there's
Yeah, there's
some
a lot of
awesome
stuff
fish.
overshadowing it probably.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
It's just kind of one of the forgotten ones. And
It's
I
not
mean,
bad with all the pressure that we're having these days, Find some of
yeah,
those little hidden gems.
yep. And This is definitely one of them. I mean, it from the north end. If you go north of that bridge,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's chocolate milk. It looks
Yeah.
like you get down by the dam and you got 2 feet of visibility.
Yeah.
So there's something for everybody.
What so when you got there, I imagine you probably fished, throughout the entire lake through pre-fishing. How did you land on your spot? And then, really interested to hear about what you changed up from day one to day two. Um, and if you like kind of saw that coming, if I'm just curious to hear about that. So yeah, if you want to just start with maybe kind of what you found out through pre-fishing, and
Yeah.
um, we'll just go with that.
Yeah, so I mean, I do a ton of map study before I ever leave for a tournament. So like I got Google Earth open, and then I got the One Boat Network app open now from
Yeah,
Hummingbird,
yeah, that's actually a
and
pretty sweet deal.
yeah, they really knocked it out of the park with that app. And I heard a lot of rumors that the north end fished a lot like the Mississippi River because there's actually, I mean, there's a creek flow that comes through it.
Hmm.
And so I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to try it up there. And then I had a couple other arms that I really wanted to focus on. And so the first day we were in town, I went up to the north end and cruised. It's 45 minutes from the ramp, probably drive with the kayak. And I come down this little arm, and it's just like the Mississippi River. So any north facing arm that you find on the Mississippi River, 99% of the time is clean. It
Mm.
has clean water in it because there's never any flow into it.
Mm.
So that's what this arm was. It was a west facing and then a south facing arm, but it was around a 90-degree bend off the river channel. So I'm like, there's got to be clean water back here. So I made the run, got back there, and sure enough, it's tannic colored and loaded. It was ridiculously loaded.
Mm.
And that was on Saturday, the Saturday before the tournament.
Mm.
So I'm like, well,
So
I'm out of here.
did you get to hang out there all week long, or did you have to go back home?
Well, we just kind of messed around. We fished, we stayed down there from Saturday till the following Sunday, but
Hmm.
we literally only fished the lake 3 days, and we went and hit a couple other places, and then we got rained out one day, and another day was moving day. We moved from a cabin over to the Airbnb,
Mm.
and so I mean, we stayed a long time, but we really didn't have a lot of time on it.
Yeah.
But so the water temps were 67, 68 up in there, and
Oh wow.
the fish were on the bed, and so
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, we're just gonna leave this spot alone, roll the dice, and hope they're still there.
Okay.
So then Sunday I actually launched just south of the bridge and went down around the corner into the first cove, fished around, and I mean I'd find pockets of fish. And the biggest thing I found, like, so I'm big on marking every bite, every fish I catch on my fish finder. Tell
Hmm.
me, to kind of give me a pattern that I can visually look at.
Sure.
And what I was finding was the fish weren't in the backs of the pockets, and they weren't clear out in the front of the pockets. They were just they were really, really dense through the center of every pocket I was in.
Mm.
And so I knew with the cold front coming, I'm like, that's going to be useful information, because if you have to slow down, throw the smaller baits, stuff like that, you really want to know where those fish are really congregated. And I ran through there and I caught like 93 and a half, 94 inches. And that was, on Sunday. So they had a week to forget about me. And so I'm like, all right, that's good. Those two spots will get me through the tournament. So then Monday we went over and we fished a different lake. Tuesday that was the moving day. Wednesday I went out to another spot. It didn't set up like I wanted it to. I mean, there was fish there, but they weren't like the quality quality fish that I was looking for. And so I just winged it from there. I'm like, well, Thursday we were supposed to get big storms, and then that cold front was coming through. So I knew Friday was going to be okay. So I'm like, I can still catch fish Friday. Saturday is going to be the real transition day. So I decided I'd go north because there was a lot of buckbrush, and it was super thick up there, and so I figured it was easier to fish the grass spot with, I was figuring I was going to have to throw a wacky rig all day Saturday, but so I decided to fish up there on Friday, and it just didn't. They were gone. I mean, the males were still there. If they were there, they weren't liking what I was doing. So, and it was far enough away that I really couldn't change my plan. I just kind of had to take the beating and hope for the best. And so I stayed in there all day, and I ground out. I think I had 7 bites, 8 bites, and I lost one decent fish, like probably a 17. Nothing, because you get to that point in the afternoon where you're shucking and winding, and you get complacent, and you just straight up miss the hook set.
Yep. So you probably weren't too excited about, how that day went, right? So you're just kind of going through the motions at that point. What are you thinking, like, in your head, what are you thinking with what you found out during practice and maybe what you're seeing on the leaderboard? Like, what are you thinking it's going to take to win? And then, like, going into day 2, like, I'm curious to know where your mindset was at as well.
Yeah, when I took the run out of that spot and was headed back to the ramp, I just kind of, I was disappointed, but that's part of fishing, that you can have the best game plan in the world and it's not always going to work out.
Sure.
So I'm like, all right, tomorrow we're just going to go fishing, like, I know I got the other spot. I'll just go down and see if I can find them again. And we got back to the cabin that night. And it was the normal chirping, the guys, we kind of fell off the rails today. I'm like, well, yeah, it happens. I said, but I'll just go catch 100 tomorrow. I said, beat you all. And just in the biggest joking manner ever. Like, never in my mind would my biggest limit ever, like 98.5,
Yeah.
But I'd actually sat there and talked to Jordan. I'm like, I'm just going to go down to that other spot and see if I can put up 3 good ones for the team, and we'll see where we end up.
So was that back up north then?
That was just actually, I launched out of Cedar Springs and went south. Just so, it wasn't probably only 3 miles, 4 miles from my other spot, but
yeah,
okay, it's a totally different water, totally different setup.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Now, why didn't you go back to one of those other spots?
After falling down on that north spot, I'm like, nah, I'll go down, because I had fish in 2 spots down on the other end. So I'm like, and I knew there was a reed section down there that I actually had a 20-incher on a bed early in the week that I'd caught. And I'm like, we'll go down and see if she's down there. At least then I can put that up for team.
Yeah.
But
did you catch her?
No. Well, I might have in the flurry of everything, but
yeah.
Because
you would have had to have caught a couple 20s at that, at that 20.
Four 20, of them.
Yeah. That'd be your average, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. My small fish for day 2 was 19 3/4. And it was, so my Saturday, I ran out, and, I was headed south, and there was one little section of reeds that I'd caught a bunch of like 16, 17-inch fish in. So I'm like, I'm going to go over there, and I'm going to try to catch 5 and then just get out of here. I'll run down to that other spot where I had the one on the bed. And so I kind of worked around this point. There was nothing happening in the reeds, and I'm like, well, I'll run around this point. I'm like, I've caught one fish. I caught one fish at 17 real early on a spinnerbait, and I'm like, well, maybe I should probably just slow down and just start flipping a jig.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was standing up and I was cruising along the edges, just flipping into this, just the thickest stuff I could find.
Mm-hmm.
And I flipped into this one spot and I looked down at my fish finder. And when I looked back up, the line was underneath my kayak. So I'm reeling down real fast and the line come back out from underneath my kayak and I set the hook and that was that 21 3/4.
Wow.
And 9 times out of 10, you're losing that fish.
Yeah.
So I told myself I was going to flip up through there for till 10:30, 11 o'clock, and then I was going to head down to that other spot. Well, sure enough, I kept catching fish after fish, but they were all 13, 14, just little dinks. And so I think I had 4 fish on the board when I decided I was going to head south. And so I ran down there, and I actually, like everybody that knows me knows I throw a frog all the time. Like I love the frog, and I caught a ton of fish on the frog all week.
Mm-hmm.
And I cut it off on the way down. And I tied on a working class 0 citizen 6.
There you go. Okay.
Because there was one little backwater section down there that had no color in it. So I'm like, I'm going to take that down there and I'm just going to throw it through there. And one cast, I caught my limit fish at 16 1/4. And I spun around in that cove and I came back out. And as I was coming out, excuse me, something took off in the weeds. And I haven't seen a carp all week. Back home I'd have wrote it off.
Yeah.
But I hadn't seen any down there and I was in a ton of shallow water. And so I'm like, maybe them fish are moving back up here. It's sunny, real high skies. And it was starting to warm up a little bit. I'm like, maybe they're moving back up here to kind of like sun themselves or something,
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, well, let's throw the chatterbait on and see if we can get a reaction bite out of them. And I worked down the bank and got right to the first point, and that's where I caught that 20 1/2. And I watched her wake it when she come out of the weeds. And I'm like, all right, we might be onto something. And so I'd circle back down and I came down there as an island. Now there's a local boat tournament going on with probably 50 to 60 boats. And then there was a collegiate tournament going on. I think they said they had 75 boats.
Wow. Okay.
So you literally, when you went into places, you had to literally tuck in behind them and just follow or come out, way around them and just kind of get in where you fit in, sort of deal. So I just watched 2 guys come off this island. And I'm like, well, I'm going to run down on the fish around it quick. Literally first cast in, I caught a 19 3/4, wake and a chatterbait. Just rod held high, and just so you could just see it, and you'd watch them. They just come up and just crush it. And I moved down a little ways. I caught a 17. I moved down a little further, caught another 17. Moved around the backside of the island, caught a 17, and then I went out to the point, and I made one cast, and the thing hit the water, and as fast as it hit the water, it comes shooting back and underneath my kayak.
Mm.
And I panicked, and I slacklined this fish. Like, it's another one that there's no reason you should ever caught it.
Yeah.
And got her hooked up, got her to the kayak, and that was that 22.
Oh my gosh. And that was the chatterbait. Were all those on a chatterbait then from that point?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I locked it in my hand and I never put it down.
Now,
and
which one was it? Was it the jackhammer? What is?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was the evergreen.
Yeah.
jackhammer, the tungsten black with a black blade.
Okay.
And I mean, I had pretty decent success pre-fishing with it, but it wasn't my go-to by any means, but it was working and they were chewing it.
Oh yeah.
And I had right after I caught that 22, I had like two boats come flying over, and they're like, "We just sat here and watched you catch like 18 pounds off this island." He's like, "What are you throwing?" I'm like, "Black chatterbait, man." Like they're just killing it. He's like, "We haven't caught a fish in here on a chatterbait in 3 weeks."
It's because you got
But
that
I
big
mean,
noisy boat.
right? And I
Now,
mean,
what do you think
it
is?
was
Yeah, like those guys sound like they'd been fishing the area for more than just one day. I mean, do you
yeah.
think that's part of it, or you just have to be right?
That's every boat I saw was literally flipping a Texas rig. They'd
Okay.
literally flip it up in the grass. They'd work it a couple times, back to the boat, next spot.
Yeah.
And it just, it kind of set up to the point where, you had to get that reaction bite
Yeah.
rather than trying to drop it on their head. I
Yep.
mean, because it was, oh, I don't know. It was just about 1 o'clock when I caught that 22. It was right before one. And I went to look at the board to see what was happening, because I didn't know where I was. I didn't even know what I had. I just knew I was catching big fish and it was crazy, you know. And so I went to pull the board up and it's locked.
Mm.
So I messaged Josh. I'm like, "Why do you have the board shut off?" He's like, "It's 5 minutes to one." I'm like, "Yeah, but check this out." And I sent him the picture of that 22 and he's like, "Oh boy."
Uh,
He's like, "Dude, that's going to put you over 100." And I'm like, I said, "I don't even know where I'm at." I said, "I have no idea." I went into the day like hoping I could stay in the top 10, you
yeah,
know,
sure. You had 80,
and
80
then,
inches roughly, right? I mean,
yeah, I had 80 and 3/4 day one.
and what?
And I was sitting
Yeah.
at that point, I had went over 100. I went to like, it was 103 and 3/4 because I had that other 19 and 3/4.
But like going
And
into day two, 80 inches, you weren't in the
10th
top 10
place,
or you were right at 10?
right at 10th. Yep.
Okay.
And, you never give it a thought. You just hope to get some AOY points at that point.
Yeah. Right.
And then all of a sudden I turned around and my partner was behind me. And he's like, "I got one 14-inch fish." And I held the black chatterbait up and he was instantly in his box, time went up, and he went to work and he worked down the bank that I was working and caught, oh, he had 80, almost 88 inches in an hour and a half.
Wow.
And I worked back down to him or behind him and I started working up the bank and ended up picking off another 20.
Dang.
And I took a picture of that one and I sent it to Josh. I'm like, "Well," I said, "Why quit now, right?" He's like, "How are you catching these?" And I'm like, so I sent him a picture of the exact weeds I was throwing into. And he's like, "Dude, that puts you at 104 inches for today." I'm like, "No way."
That's wild.
But I mean, I've never thrown back so many 17, 18-inch bass.
Just like they were nothing, like they were 14s.
Yeah.
You're just,
Yeah. I mean,
that's not going to do me any good.
right. Yeah. I called back home to my fiance because I caught a bit, remember when I caught that 20. And I'm like, she's like, "You were doing good." She's like, "Keep going." And I'm like, "No, you got to see this fish. Like, it's ridiculous." I said, they're biting like crazy. But I mean, I've caught some good fish, but nothing like that.
Now, I'm curious because it's got me thinking like all these, good fish, 17, 18, whatever that that aren't doing you any good. It's
Yeah.
got me thinking that, some of those 17, 18-inch fish probably 4 pounds, this time of year. Are they all pre-spawn, or are they pretty thick, or what does that
They
look like?
were they were for the most part down there. They were all pre-spawn, and then like that big 22, I'm pretty sure she was still on a bed,
Yeah.
and I'm assuming what happened was the male got caught and put in a boat,
Mm-hmm.
and it keyed her up to protect, and that's how I ended up working her out of there. So,
Nice.
but yeah, I mean, and they all just gorgeous fish. Actually, I come around the corner of a point and I caught two, just like 16 and a half, 17. And these two college kids were in a boat and they're flipping,
Mm-hmm.
and they come around the corner and they're like, "So, how you doing, man?" I'm like, "Oh, not too bad." I said, "You guys catching them?" He's like, "Yeah, we got like 15, 16 pounds." I'm like, "Heck yeah, man, that's awesome." He's like, "So what do you think you got?" I'm like, I said, "It just estimates at about 26 pounds." And you can just watch them. They're like, "No way." I'm like, yeah, I said, I'm wrecking them in here. And I mean, I talked to 5 or 6 different boaters in there, and none of them were catching a lot of fish.
Really? So you think
Yeah,
they were all just fishing too slow? They're all maybe giving them the same thing to look at, there's something to that. And for whatever reason, like I love fishing reaction baits, like power fishing. That's kind of my thing. Um,
yeah,
been fishing a spinner bait a lot here lately, and but the chatter bait, you wouldn't really compare it to a frog, but you're getting that kind of same response.
yep, yep. That instant, you know, they have seconds, and they don't have a chance to look at it. It's either they're going to eat it or they're not.
Yep.
And I mean, the only reason I switched from a spinnerbait was because of the amount of grass. I was
Yeah.
getting hung up all the time. But I mean, the chatterbait come through it really well. And you can rip them out of it. So it always, it cleans itself most of the time. But my bites were literally within 2 foot of the bank.
Wow. Now, what do you? So did you just catch the one fish on the Citizen?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Is
And
that?
the other water was super muddy where I was
Mhm.
catching them on the chatterbait. I mean, it had a ton of color to it. You probably had 5, 6 inches of visibility. And that's where I keep that chatterbait, is right at the point where I could see it. And
Mhm.
you would literally, you'd see the fish flash on it. And I mean, I've never seen them so aggressive coming off a cold front.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, I would imagine your timing was right. Obviously, your delivery was right, and you were thinking a little bit outside of the box. It sounds like, at least compared to what everybody else was doing, um,
Yeah.
and it was just one of those things, I guess, where the stars aligned, and you're paying attention to your surroundings as well. You're taking all the clues that you're given, and so I mean that's just what. So what? Let me see here. So I have the Tourney X stuff, but for some reason I'm not able to see the individual fish on here. But you had
Oh, go to the individual day. If you click on day 2
where
instead of overall.
okay, I don't know. Let me see here.
It should be up at the top. There should be an overall, and then day 1, day 2.
I think I'm on the live leaderboard, is what it says.
Oh, okay.
I think I'm
Yep.
just on the completely wrong thing. But
Yeah.
but yeah, so you had let me wait for it to come back around and it'll tell me here. Second place at 178. So you had
Yep.
him by 6-7 inches. Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, they 175, 172, 170. So I mean, they were catching them.
Yeah.
They were
Yeah.
catching them.
So 7 out of the top 10, all the Iowa guys that were in the top 10, we were all in the same house.
Okay, I saw that. Yeah, you had the
Yeah.
top three. Were the top three from Iowa?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And what?
And were you guys all on different stuff, or?
Yeah. Yeah.
Really?
Actually, Jeremy was down somewhere. He'd never share a spot with me, but he was on a really good frog bite, and Matt was fishing kind of some out in the middle of nowhere stuff with a spinner bait and a chatter bait,
Really?
and
Like
it was
auxiliary
just
stuff?
yeah, it was kind of like islands stuff like that. I mean,
Yeah.
just any
Yeah.
random cover he could find, he was working it. I mean, he was putting up some good fish all week out
Mm.
there. And same way with Jeremy. Jeremy caught a giant. He caught his personal best in practice, and I mean, it was I was nervous, even after, Josh said just keep going, keep fishing.
So,
I'm like
was your big one, would you say 22 and a half or?
20, 22 was my big.
So your big
And then
one
I
was
had
22 and you had 104 inches. Like what the, that's pretty wild, right?
I had a 22, a 21 and a half, or 21 and three quarter, a 20 and a half, a 20 and a 19 and three quarter.
Wow.
And
Yeah, that's
it
wild.
was,
That's,
yeah,
I guess that's what you go to Texas for.
right. Yep. And
I
that's,
mean, you couldn't ask for anything more than that.
and it's like I told the guys on the ride home, because the guy that got third, he actually rode down with me. He's been one of my travel partners for years.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him, I'm like, I said 9 out of 10 tournaments. I said this ride home. I said I'm just telling you how many fish I lost.
Yeah.
I had them swimming into the trolling motor, and
Yeah.
they were grabbing it and coming out so fast that it was Monday. I was throwing my chatterbait on a 7-1 to 1, and I actually dropped it back to a 6-3 to 1.
Yeah.
Just to kind of slow it down a little bit, and you couldn't catch up to them.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, I mean, they were just grabbing it and running.
Yeah.
So,
What, I'm curious to know, I guess with, maybe some of this was luck, I mean, as far as like not losing some of those fish in those sketchy situations, right? I mean, you know,
yeah,
it could have gone differently on a couple of those fish, not saying you
yeah.
wouldn't, but like, I'm curious what gear, what kind of like rod and line and stuff like that.
Basically, when I go into weeds, I go with a little stiffer. I went with I fished with Team Rain Shadow rods. It was a
Yeah.
7.2 medium heavy, extra fast.
Okay.
And then with the 6.3 to 3 die with Tatula, and I spooled it up with 30-pound braid, and I lock it down. But
Yeah.
when I get into those grass situations, that way I can rip it out and it clears itself pretty easy. And I mean, it's a lot of technique when you go to a rod that extra fast with that chatterbait, because you can't set the hook right away. Otherwise, you'll lip them, you'll barely skin hook them, and you miss a ton of fish.
Kind of
So
like
you gotta
setting it like a
let them.
or,
Yeah, you almost leave it. You just take that hesitation, let them really get in it.
it's like fishing a frog.
And yeah, yep. And every one of those fish was hooked dead square center top of the mountain.
Yeah. It's just one
Every
of
single one of them.
the,
And
they just wanted it.
yeah, they were it. It didn't matter. I mean, it was like I said, it could have gone so many different ways. I mean, the only thing I knew going in there was that's where the fish were.
Yeah.
When I had fished it, because that's where I caught them in practice. So that was the area that I focused on, and I literally just kept going around and around and around in there. And
What kind of trailer are you using on that chatterbait? Did you stick with the same one the whole time, or?
actually, it was a buddy of mine just started a bait company called Junk Fish and Lures,
Okay.
and I sent him. I used to throw a Yum Bad Jamma all the time,
Okay.
and it's just a twin tail,
I got you.
about 3.5 inches. So I sent it to him, and they discontinued them like 4 years ago. And I messaged him and I said, "Hey, find this mold." I said, "I'll buy 100 of these things a year from you." And so 2 days later, he had the mold,
Wow.
and he poured me a bunch before I left, and I mean he he's really getting into it, and he does a really good job with what he's got. So
Yeah. Shout out to what'd you say? Junk fish? What'd you say?
junk fishing lures,
Man, that's that describes my whole game plan to every tournament.
right? Yeah.
Is that it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. That is one of my best jig trailers and one of my best chatterbait trailers
Yeah. Heck yeah.
in the black and blue.
Black and blue on the all. Is it like an all black chatterbait?
Yeah. Yep. Black with a black blade.
Okay. When I first started fishing a chatterbait, I don't know why I got away from it. I think I just completely got away from fishing the chatterbait, to be honest. Um,
Yeah.
was black and blue. I mean, and I caught a ton of fish on it. Um,
Yeah.
I've gone more
My
to the shad stuff, I guess, when I am fishing a chatterbait here lately. But you're just reminding me that I had quite a bit of success here fishing locally, just for fun and
yeah.
whatnot, on a black and blue chatterbait.
Yeah. That's when I won the TOC that year. That was on a black and brown.
Yep.
And
Yeah, so I was trying to think. So I knew, yeah. So you had the TOC. Was that like one of the last years they did it, or?
yeah, it was 2017. I think they quit in 19. I think is what it was because I won it and then Nate won it.
Yeah,
And then I think Nate was the last year, so
might
maybe
have
it was
been.
only 2018.
Yeah, either he was the last one, or maybe there was one more. But yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, because that I know that thing had changed hands a couple times. But yeah, so this
yep,
guys, if you guys are running a local club, if you have, a kayak fishing series. I'm sure you guys have some maybe like non-traditional clubs that you're bringing in too. So maybe some like onlines even are offering slots,
yeah,
stuff like that. Get with the All American, get with Tyler, get with Josh. Reach out to these guys, and you can actually send some people to represent the club and
yeah.
get out there and fish for some big money too. What'd you say? What'd you say? You guys
Class
gave away like
10 grand,
yeah.
10 grand for the first 2 years we had it. We gave away a kayak, a fully rigged kayak.
Nice. Was that
Tons of prizes.
so you
Really
guys are
classic.
working with Everhart's for the kayaks and the
Yep,
stuff. Okay. I
yep,
was gonna say you're out of are you still in an old town?
yeah, yep,
And
yep.
the other thing I was curious about when you're telling me about all this stuff, um, is like the electronic side of things. Did that play a part at all?
Not so much. Not so much with the depth that I was running, but temperature was huge because there was where the wind was blowing in. If you stayed out towards the front of the cove, you're still only at like 58, 59 degrees because when that cold front came through, we lost 10 degrees of water temp.
Oh wow.
And I mean, that was pretty much lake wide. But this was that like early morning, it was 55, 56.
Mm,
And then as the day went on, it really bumped it up in the shallow. And
right.
so like if it was even like where I caught the majority of my fish was anywhere between 60 and 61 degrees was kind of the sweet spot to stay in to
Okay.
really find a lot of bites.
And you're paying more attention to that because it sounds like you're catching fish on the bank, so it's not like you're really paying
Yeah,
attention to a depth
right.
or a piece of cover. Like, are you catching them off a cover?
It was just what it looked like was just it almost looked like your grass in the front yard,
Yeah.
but it's like 4 feet tall, 3 feet tall,
Yeah.
but it was real sparse. Like you just have one or two coming up, and they weren't there early in the week.
Mm,
They had literally shot up during the week. But anywhere you could find three or four of them sticking up in front of a clump that was the spot.
okay. Hell yeah. Um. Oh. And then you finished. Did you win a Bassmaster event?
Yeah.
Won one last
Yep.
year?
21
That
down
is
on Lake
time to
Chickamauga.
way too quick.
Yeah. Yeah, it
Chickamauga,
definitely
okay,
does.
where they just had
Yeah.
the championship.
Yep. Yep.
Now, did you fish that?
I No, I didn't this year.
Okay,
I didn't have enough time last year to even think about qualifying.
okay.
So
That series has grown tremendously.
yeah.
It's this
Yep.
last
And
year.
they did the right thing. They, putting Steve's been a mentor of mine since the Bassmaster stuff started. I've watched him for years, and he has every kayak angler in his best interest.
Yeah.
And for them to put him in that position was the exact right thing they needed to do.
I saw a lot of guys were really happy about,
Yeah.
um, his performance. I guess that's all you can really call it on stage.
Yeah.
And um,
Yep.
it looks like they did. They did the kayak guys justice, and I think that
Yeah.
maybe was why you didn't see as much involvement, because I think it was clear to like me, like running the grassroots statewide stuff, like they don't really know what they're doing, or maybe they don't care, or like, like you just got that vibe that it wasn't a priority at all.
Right.
And I think that's definitely changed.
Yeah, they're definitely taking the right steps because, like, I mean, I won't ever bash on anybody, but they had the wrong people at the lead
Yeah,
when it all, and now they got it squared up, and I'm really curious to see where it goes from here. It should be pretty awesome.
yeah, yeah. It looks like it's, um, if you were to compare the Hobie BOS to the Bassmaster last year, there was just, I mean, there was
Yeah.
no comparison. And as far as
Yep.
attendance goes, you're kind of assuming that they're going to be, more on that
Yeah.
level playing field, and
Yep.
and that's good. It's good to
Yeah.
see. You see some of these other organizations that are maybe on their way out. I won't throw any shade over, the stuff that's going on right now, but
Right.
it's but man, it's stuff that we've seen for 10 years now. I mean,
Right. Right.
it's whatever, but yeah, it's good to see. It's good
Yeah.
to see that leadership.
Yeah.
Um,
And the big thing is everybody's working together. You know, I
yeah,
mean, even us, the All American. We were in touch with Steve. We were in touch with AJ. I mean, granted, we're
yeah,
nowhere near that level, but
yeah,
it's cool to be able to try to work dates out so everybody can fish everything.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and it's hard to do that at even a local level, and
Yeah.
start doing it at the
Yeah.
kind of national level. And then that's the thing too, because you're kind of drawn from both pools. You're drawn from the guys that want to fish the big stuff, they want to compete on the big stage, but then you're
Yeah.
also catering, like you're kind of right there in the middle where, um,
Yeah.
you're drawn from both crowds, and so I would
Yeah.
imagine the schedule is a pretty stressful time when you guys are putting that together.
Yeah. There's no doubt. I mean, we're pretty flexible. We're not really locked in with the lakes that we go to because, see, we're not. So at the All American, we're not tied to the chamber money. We
Yeah,
That's not something we worry about. We
yeah,
want to put anglers on the best lakes at the best times. That's why we're in Texas in March. We're in Bogie in May, St. Clair in June. And
sure,
that's the time to be there.
yeah, heck yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's yeah, if you guys are looking to compete, and like you're saying, I mean, it makes perfect sense. You're going to be able to kind of line that up. If you're looking for a good
Yeah.
excuse to go fishing 7 or 8 times this year, I mean, that schedule is going to be hard to beat. um,
I I honestly think that Monopoly event will put out a bigger total than what Texas just did.
really.
Yeah.
um, shout out to 10 Horse Monty. We had him on the show not too long ago. What's up, man? Appreciate you tuning in and commenting. I appreciate that. He's got a pretty cool podcast, real big over there in the Ozarks area. So if you guys are interested in what we're doing here tonight, you're sure to enjoy his stuff as well. Um, Now I did see here where Ian said he was looking to maybe get in on some of the action. He said the Friday Saturday makes it a little harder on him. We were kind of talking about that. I could see that being an advantage, and I could, either way, you're probably
Yeah.
taking some time off from work.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming
Yep.
that was kind of the idea, give you that extra travel day to get back home, especially from some of
Yeah.
these events that are maybe further away.
Yep. And that's, we talk to a lot of the anglers and they're like, if we're going to go and travel, we're going to be there by Wednesday or we're going to leave on Wednesday, and so moving it to that Friday, Saturday, you're already taking the time off the 1 week, you know, this just saves the guy from taking it off the following week too. And I mean, it works for some people's schedule and it doesn't for others, and that's the hardest part about planning any of this.
Yeah. 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 Well, I mean, if you guys are looking to, get involved, then you've got some time to prepare for at least for next year if you're not able to get
Yeah.
in on this year. But I kind of like
Yep.
it. If we were talking about, the Kansas kayak anglers, I don't think it would make a lot of sense, but
Right.
drawn
Right.
from a small area, we don't have guys that are traveling, from Missouri or
Yeah.
Oklahoma very often. Like we'll have the occasional, but guys aren't traveling to those local events. So I think that if you're going and fishing Arkansas and you're fishing Michigan and
Yeah.
Wisconsin and Texas, you're going to draw anglers from those areas to come fish. So um,
Yeah.
I like it. I like it. But yeah, it's not going to work for everybody. But
No.
I'm wondering, is that they've done that at the national, like some of the more national events, like Hobie
Yeah.
and Bassmaster? Are they doing theirs Friday, Saturday,
There's still Saturday, Sunday.
Saturday, Sunday? Okay.
So yeah, we took the shot and went for it. I mean, we kicked it around and kicked it around and back and forth and back and forth. And it's like, I said, for me personally, if I'm traveling 14 hours, I'd rather fish on a Friday because then I don't have to deal with all the boat traffic Saturday morning.
Well, yeah. I mean
Yeah.
that's a big thing, especially
Yeah.
you're talking about a big lake down in Texas.
Yeah.
There's tons of boat traffic down there right now, and
Yeah.
even though it's not OHIV, there's those people down in Texas.
Oh,
A lot of them don't want anything to do with that lake because of how much pressure
yeah.
there is. So,
Right. And
so a lot of
that's,
these other lakes are getting hit. So yeah, fishing on a weekday, like a tournament, a tournament day on a weekday, I think that's another
yeah.
that's another good selling point there.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, just keeping that pressure off for one day.
Fat Basses, man, he has been on here tonight. I think we might actually. I'm gonna I'm gonna invite you out to go fishing. I mean, like we're gonna get you your first fish of the year. Uh, I did. This is really kind of a sad stat to announce that I finally passed a guy in subscribers that hasn't posted a video in 2 years. Uh, you know, like, yeah, I don't know if that's a win for me or not, but shout out to all of you guys that are subscribed to the channel. We just hit 2,300 subscribers. That's kind of big for me, I guess. We're just having fun with it. Um, and really just to kind of circle back around on what we mentioned at the very beginning of this deal is the whole intention of the podcast was to grow the kayak fishing community here in the area. And I think that, we have definitely reached out to some new people this way, and
Yeah.
we continue to do so. So this is a cool
Yep.
opportunity. And if you guys are looking to fish here in Kansas, I got you. I got you there. Just look up Kansas kayak anglers. If you're looking to do some like regional Midwest stuff, Tyler can hook you up
Yeah.
too with All
Yeah.
American,
And
Iowa,
that's,
Missouri, doesn't matter.
yep. I'm always available if you got questions, you got concerns, you got anything, just reach right out to me or even Josh. Josh takes a ton of questions every year and like we'll help you through anything you need. So
Now Hip says he says, do you get a 1099 from Josh since you guys are friends?
I sure do every year because I got second in lacrosse last year, and yeah, that one
Is
that
that
was
just 600 is when you got to start filling that stuff out, or
yeah,
is
yep,
it?
yep. $600 winning, and you're getting a letter from Josh.
He didn't hold
Oh
that for you, huh?
no, and that's one thing I'll say, just because the
Payouts?
payout the payout conversation came up
Yeah,
today.
yeah,
You know, all payments for the All American were paid out Sunday night by 6 o'clock.
yeah. Yeah, and
So
like you would not think that would be like we just live in a day and age where
right,
if you get caught slipping, I mean it's
right,
you got to watch your P's and Q's. You know,
yeah,
you're bringing 100, 200 anglers, from all across the country to fish an event.
yep,
You better pay them. Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, we're not talking
right,
about the All American. I'll just make that clear. For those of you that
no,
don't know, there's some controversy about
right,
people not getting paid in a timely manner. I'm sure they
yep,
will get paid. I mean, if it was, if they were promised a kayak or a prize, they may never see that, but they'll probably get
yeah,
paid.
yeah,
They'll probably get paid. But
yeah,
yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. There's just something about the Midwest group of folks that
yeah,
I fished with the All American. Unfortunately, I've only fished one event. That was at the Wilson event, but I'll be down there. Um, I'll be down there at the Mineland Wildlife Area as well. And
yeah,
yeah, it is. It's just like if you've ever fished with Moyak,
yeah,
it's kind of the same feel. It's just
yeah,
it's a bunch of friends. With a great excuse to get out on the water and try to
yeah,
hook into a big one, and
yep,
you're probably going to be given a lot more information than you would expect. People are a
yeah.
little bit,
Oh yeah,
willing to
there's a
share that
there's
stuff.
a ton of doc talk and only believe 50%.
That's true. That's true. But yeah, I guess that's how we are in the Midwest. But
Yeah,
a lot of sandbaggers.
that's for sure.
Now, doing? Are you guys doing? And I know you have at some events. Is this something that you do at every event, like an hourly big bass, or? Um,
That's an all American classic thing. We
okay.
do that for the classic.
Yeah.
The chamber in Truman, they go out and they get it to get the money for the hourly big bass from the businesses in town. And I mean that town of Clinton has been a huge support, and
Yeah.
they've been great with us. I mean,
That's
I
awesome.
can't say enough good stuff about them.
Yeah. Yeah. Heck yeah. Well, and that's one that. And is it? Well, it's not always there, is it? Or it's not this
Yeah,
year?
yeah, yep. It's
It is.
still. Yep, it'll be at Truman as long as Everhart's is involved. So
Okay. Okay. Yeah. That's what was I? What was I seeing when I was looking at the events there? Um, Championship in Arkansas.
yeah, yep. So the classic is the one that we
Okay.
qualify through the clubs,
Got
and you qualify many different ways. But then
gotcha.
we're having an actual trail event along with it.
Oh,
Because guys are there, why not?
yep.
So
Okay. Very cool. Um, let's see. One other question I had for you on the kind of the way that you guys run your. So how do you do your AOY points on like your 2 day scale, and then so I know people have kind of switched it up over the years. In years past, you'd see like 100, 99, 98. And then I think you guys might have been, you or Moyak, put a little like 2 points or so in between each. How are you guys doing that?
yeah, Josh or Troy actually runs that system, and I have no idea.
Okay. Okay.
So I just know I came outside with second place after this because he got big bass points,
Okay. Oh, nice.
and me and him have a little side bet this year for the state stuff. So this is really interesting this year.
Yeah. 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 I'm just kind of interested in how different people do that. So it looks like, the AOY race for 2023, are you tied for first with Jeremy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So you've got 300. You've got 300 points, tied with Jeremy, and then Matt Barnes, which is that an Iowa guy as well?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
he's got 290. He's not too far behind you. So there's a
No.
pretty good gap there, though, right? So I mean,
Yeah.
so they must
Yeah.
give.
See, we give X amount of points for the big bass also. So
Cool.
I mean,
That's cool.
even if yeah,
I
and I
think
mean it really
kind of makes sense.
like yeah, yep. I mean we pay out money for it. Why
Yeah.
not give points for it? You
Yeah.
know?
Hell yeah. Yeah, and that could salvage, that could salvage a bad tournament possibly.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, shoot, man. I told you, we'd start talking fishing, and then an hour would go, and it'd be time to go to bed. But I want to thank you. Is there maybe any sponsors or anybody that you want to shout out before we call it a night here?
My guys from Batson Enterprise and Team Marine Shadow, like they take care of me, keep me equipped with my rods every year. I mean, I've been with them 3 years now. They make some of the best stuff on the planet. Mossy Oak Fishing for all they do. Bassett Baits. Who else we got in there? Everarts. They've been a huge supporter for me for the last 3 years, and I mean, I couldn't do it without them. I couldn't do it without my home support. You know, my fiance takes care of everything. My kids cheer me on every weekend. You know that I'm gone, and they deal with their dad being gone and on the road all the time. So, I mean,
Shout
a
out
big shout
to
to them.
Z-Man for making the chatterbait.
Right, them too. Them too. So, yeah, and that's I've made so many friends over the years doing this fishing stuff. I'd be lost without it. So I mean,
Yeah.
like my Iowa guys, they've pushed me and pushed me and pushed me, and you know, it's it's always fun fishing with them, I guess. So
Yeah, heck yeah. Well, that was cool to see you guys all come out on top the way you did. That I bet that was I bet the club was pretty proud when you brought the
yeah,
trophies back home.
well, and you'd have thought we were all working together, and it was probably the most secretive house I've ever been in because nobody wanted to give up their juice.
That's funny. Yeah, yeah. I'm sure people had their questions about that. But yeah, that is funny. That is funny to hear that it was quite the opposite.
Yeah, and we did. Well, we had a big bass bet at the house for the biggest bass for the tournament that came out of the house. So it was an extra $50 a person, and
Nice.
so yeah, nobody was giving up information on how they were catching anything.
Yeah, and yeah, you took away big bass of the tournament as well, right?
Jeremy did.
Oh, okay.
Jeremy.
Okay.
Yep.
What was that?
Yeah, that's the guy that got second. He's a
What?
good buddy of mine. I can't 23 and a half.
Yeah, I think it was. I was thinking it was 23 something. Now that
Yeah.
I guess I forgot about that. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Any
Well, you
he
didn't
broke
break
his
$50 up after. What'd you win on the? I guess we didn't talk about that. What'd you win? What'd you come home with for the
I
check?
come home with $2,800.
$2,800. You can't beat
42 guys, 43 guys.
that. Man, that's not bad.
So, no, it's a killer payout.
Yeah.
So,
Heck yeah. Well, hopefully some of you guys here are liking what you're hearing, and if you want an opportunity to get out there and compete 2-day events on some really great bodies of water, go check them out. The website is allamericanKayakSeries.com. So go check it out. You can see the full list, the full schedule, all of their membership fees, and you can see that Tyler is tied for first right now in the AOY race. So
yep. For now, it's a long season.
yeah, it just got started. So
Yep.
you've got the burden of holding it down.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool, man. Well, I appreciate you joining us tonight. And I know at the very least, I will see you in September down at the Mineland Wildlife area, but I just may try to sneak into one of these other events.
You may as well come on over to Sherman.
I'm thinking Okoboji.
Yeah.
That may be the one that draws me over there.
Yep. Yeah. It's an awesome fishery. It's hands down the best fishery in Iowa.
Yeah. Hell yeah. I've heard a lot of good things about it.
Yeah.
So, all right, man.
All
Well, you
righty.
have a good one. And hopefully we'll see you on the leaderboards here before too long.
All right. Appreciate it.
All right. See you, man. All right. There you have it. Tyler Cole, All-American Kayak Series, Lake of the Pines. Just completely laid the hammer down on day 2. Went into the event, went into day 2 with 80 inches. I believe day 2 total was 104, maybe even and some change. You guys heard about him catching them primarily on the jackhammer, and sound like he was just doing something a little bit different. So that is definitely something that you want to take away from this episode here is if you see people struggling, it doesn't necessarily mean that there's not fish to be caught. I've really been surprised on being able to come up behind people and catch fish behind people. But to be honest with you, I'm just now drawing this comparison, but a lot of the time when that's happening, I'm catching those fish on reaction baits. So, if those fish are kind of in that spawning mood, they're making their way up shallow, they're making their way to the banks. You kind of know where those fish are going to be at, where they're going to be positioned. If you can't get them to bite that slow, jig or Texas rig, if you're not able to entice them with that kind of finesse presentation, switch it up, try something completely different, and put something right in front of them that they just can't resist. And a lot of times, chatterbait, spinnerbait, crankbait, those sort of things are, they see that window of opportunity and they got to take it. They don't even have a lot of times, have a say-so in the matter. It's just boom, natural. And next thing you know, you got a big 22.5-inch fish on the other end of the line. And, those fish add up. Just ask Tyler about that. So, guys, though, check those guys out. The All-American Kayak Series, if you want to get into kayak fishing and if you want to maybe take it to the next level, that is a great place to start. Definitely get involved with your local clubs. If you're in Missouri or Iowa, Tyler and Josh, those people are going to become very familiar if you are even getting involved at the club level. Cool thing about this series is that you're going to be able to venture out and fish some of these kind of destination lakes, some of these bucket list lakes like St. Clair. Go down to Texas, get yourself a 100+ inch limit in one day. Something that we didn't even talk about, but this was a record. This was the largest one-day limit ever turned in at one of these All-American events, and it's been going on they've had this series for 3 or 4 years now. So that's pretty impressive. But anyways, I just want to shout out Tyler, shout out the All-American Series. And if you guys are looking to get involved in your local kayak fishing community, if you guys are here in Kansas, let me know. And if you're just looking to get involved and you're in a completely different part of the country, get with me. Chances are, a lot of us tournament directors know each other. If I don't directly know somebody in your state, I bet you I can find somebody who does, and we can get you pointed in the right direction. So do me a favor, if you guys haven't done so already, share this video with a friend. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And if you're still hanging on, we've got some new content that we've published on the channel here recently. We've been putting up YouTube shorts like crazy, like one every single day. And then I just posted a video of me taking an early spring trip out on the creeks. And, if you guys are looking to get into some fish right now and you're in the Midwest, you're looking at water temps in the 40s. I don't know that I've seen water temps break 50 degrees. If so, very, very low 50-degree water temps right now, and catching them on reaction baits. So those are always fun days when you can get out there when it's cold, but the bite is hot. So check out that latest video we did. You get a sneak peek inside of Russell Marine Products, one of the brand new buildings that we just put up. You'll be able to see inside of it, and you'll be able to see me catching some fish on a square bill in 40-degree water temps. So love doing that stuff, guys. Appreciate you for tuning in. I'm going to go ahead and sign off for the night. You guys have a good one, and we will see you on the next one.